Hey everyone, it's Navik here. This is a special kind of video. I'm not counting it as part of my regular comic reviews, but I've just been catching up on an old friend. And so, you guys might know that early in my channel's history last year, I was reviewing the Miles Morales Spider-Man comic, and I held on to the opinion and I believed at the time that Miles Morales, this comic written by Cody Ziegler, was one of the best superhero comics out on the shelf. But unfortunately, the Miles book started getting caught in a bunch of tie-ins for events I didn't really care for, like Gang War and Blood Hunt. And I was getting a lot more books, and some IRL financial stuff came up, so I couldn't. I had to put some books on the wayside, and unfortunately, the Miles book, like I kind of took off my list because, well, I'm not the word of mouth has been good on this current Spider-Man book. Look, we've had people like Spider Dunk doing videos on it. Cape Joel's been giving it praising reviews as each issue. So I figured, yeah, the Miles book's gonna be fine. And I don't, but hey, I moved some stuff now. Dropped some comics that I was following more for completion's sake than actual enjoyment, and I ended up catching up on Miles Morales Spider-Man. And yep, I got all these backup issues. And I would like to report that, yeah, this book, it is still one of the best superhero comics on the shelf right now. In fact, and while I would say Dennis Camp's Ultimate is like one of the most substantial books in terms of like all the world building and all the theming up can take place in the book and some really dark characterization, the Miles Morales Spider-Man book is the book I would say is like the best traditional Marvel superhero comic on the shelf. In fact, if I had a way to describe this book, it's basically he yeah, it's basically feels like the platonic idea of what you would think a Marvel comic is, where even though the heroes are have larger than life superpowers and adventures, they're all too human with their problems and their emotions, and as well as kind of new age Marvel, where you get definitely tell that the writers are some taking influence from media other than and super traditional superhero comics. Like I said, you'll especially see this when I show you a part in issue 25. And so yeah, this is like my so yeah, this is a bit of a catch up on it. And basically I kind of wanted to make a short video on why I think this book is so cool. Well, so first off, one of the things that I really appreciate that I'm sure a lot of other people have mentioned before, was that the book has a real focus on Miles Morales' mental health and more just pointing out that he needs to take care of it. And it is sad that it's actually pretty rare in any form of medium, especially because normally therapy, especially therapy for guys, it's shown as like something that, well, only the crazy and weak-willed go to, but or the therapist turns out to actually be some supervillain. But nah, we've had 25 issues of this series, and Miles has been going to therapy, with Doc Sasquatch and Dr. Quan, and yeah, we've been seeing all throughout the series that it's actually helping him deal with a lot of the stress of being a teenage superhero. And that's actually one thing. Which, yeah, Cody Ziegler, he's done excellent characterization for Miles and his supporting cast, especially his girlfriend Tiana, aka Starling, and she's one of the major highlights of the book. Look, but and yeah, in this issue, and yeah, we see her even though she has problems, she will stick and support Miles, but she's also not afraid to like tell him off when he's doing something stupid, or when he's keeping his emotions bottled up, or not telling her things that he really should be telling her. Like in the most recent issues, the fact that Miles is suffering from vampirism, and I'll say this: I know people are like hating on Miles being a vampire, and are thinking it's lasting too long, but I don't know. We've had story arcs arcs where Thor's become a frog, Captain America's become a werewolf, Ulf and the Punishers become a Frankenstein monster. So yeah, Miles was becoming a vampire for a brief bit of time isn't really that out of the ordinary for a Marvel superhero. Oh, and hell, if you want to go outside of Marvel, there was a time where Superman was an electric creature, an electric being. This is just something that happens in comics. But and yeah, if you can't tell from the artwork, one thing I mentioned when I've talked about the Miles Morales book previously is that the art by Federico Vicentini is spectacular. Or it is stylized as in the best way possible. It's frenetic. It's incredibly nice to look at. And the colors, let me see. Yeah, the colors by Brian and Valenza just make it all pop up. And that's also kind of a detriment whenever Vicentini isn't on the book. Not that the replacement artists are usually bad. It's just very noticeable drop in quality where it goes from looking unique in its own right to, well, just looking like generic superhero art. And yeah, this book is really good, but it does suffer a bit of what a lot of mainstream superhero comics do, and as I mentioned, it ties into stuff like Gang War, and of course Blood Hunt, which is responsible for the whole Miles becoming a vampire thing and needing to deal with that. Though I'd say that in the mark of a really great writer is the ability to basically roll with the punches, is take being needed where even though you're forced to tie into stuff via editorial mandate, you can still put an awesome story. The Miles Morales Gang War trade is a really fun read. It had Miles fighting Frost Pharaoh, the Buzz Boys, and of course the Hobgoblin and his gang, and alongside the Cape Killers. Those were just another great addition. And of course, but before I ramble on a bit too long, maybe I shouldn't ramble on too long. There's just a lot of really cool stuff going on in the book. Miles is getting a new suit to help deal with his vampirism, reaching out to the wider superhero community through Misty Knight and Black Panther, actually meeting Dr. Kwan in person and realizing she's pretty freaking tall, and having to deal with Tiana's grandfather, the Vulture, and Nina basically in this fight being treated as a test for Miles, also in order to see if he can control his vampirism. And yeah, that's one thing that's the one element I mentioned. I foreshadowed it earlier that I did mention, where it feels like a classic Marvel comic, but Cody Ziegler is a massive shonen battle manga fan, and he injects a bit of those tropes into it. Like Miles gained a Venom Sword superpower. He's got like an electric super mode, and now he's got like a dark side that he needs to control. So yeah, Miles is kind of the shonen Spider-Man. And if you need any more proof that these guys are massive shonen geeks, yes, you are seeing this right. That is a motherfucking JoJo reference it's in a mainstream Spider-Man comic. And yeah, I am extremely jealous of this creative team that they get to do this. Invariably, if I ever end up on the Avengers or Superman, I'm going to be putting in a bunch of Getter Robo references. So, yeah, it's very great to see that the Miles book, even after I haven't been reading the book for close to a year, it's still really a great read. I am so glad I caught up to it, and I'm going to be really glad to be covering the individual issues that come out in hell, because it's crossing over because Cody Ziegler is writing both this book and Deadpool, and they're doing a crossover. They're called Pools of Blood in February. Well, this book is going to be the reason why I pick up a Deadpool issue for the first time since 2009. And I hope you guys will be with me when that happens. So I'll see you then.